So we have covered first two, now we are on third one, which is cost of capital. So when we say capital, capital has two sources primarily. It is debt and equity. And you also have preferred stock, which is somewhere a combination of debt and equity. So it is generally said to be equity because it is shares, but it has qualities of debt because it has a fixed dividend, just like debt has a fixed interest rate. So now the question is, or preferred stock. Now what is cost of capital? Cost of capital is the cost which you have to pay in order to get this capital or in order to raise this capital. So if someone is lending you money, you will have to pay interest. That interest is the cost of capital. If someone is giving you capital as preferred share, you will have to pay preferred dividends. That is cost of capital. And if someone is giving you equity, he or she will demand some return on that equity or will demand you to perform or generate some return. So there will be some required rate of return on equity. This is the cost of capital. So now this topic is about that how do you calculate this cost of capital. In order to arrive at total cost of capital, you first need to know the individuals, and then once you know the individuals, you can take the weighted average to arrive at the total cost of capital. So for example, if debt has a cost of 5%, preferred stock has a cost of, for example, 8%, and equity has a cost of, let's say, 15%. Then if you want to calculate, this is the cost of capital from debt, cost of capital from preferred share, and cost of capital from equity. If you want to calculate total cost of capital, total cost of capital will be a weighted average of all these three. So for example, if you are told that debt is 30%, preferred share is, for example, 20%, and equity is, for example, 50%. So your total cost of capital will be 30% of 5% plus 20% of 8 plus 50% of 15%. This will be your total cost of capital, and it is also called weighted average cost of capital. Why weighted average? Because this is the weighted average with respect to their weights in the capital. So this is known as WACC, or cost of capital, or weighted average cost of capital, which is the total cost of capital for the company. Now the question is that there are two questions. In order to arrive at WACC, you need to know these cost of capitals and you need to know these weights. So the question is, how do you get these cost of capitals, 15, 8 and 5, and how do you get these weights, 50, 20 and 30? So first let's discuss weights because that is easier part, and then we will go on to discussing the cost. So when you are finding out weights, there are multiple ways of finding out weight. So one of the key ways is that you, for example, look at the company's balance sheet, and on balance sheet you can find out how much is debt, how much is preferred share, how much is equity. Another possible way is that instead of looking at balance sheet, you look at the company's management's plan. Management would have given some plan or some estimate that in future management will raise debt or will raise equity or something, and based on that you work out how much will be equity, how much will be preferred share, and how much will be debt in future. Another possible way is that you look at the competitors and you find out the industry average capital and take that as the weights. So there can be multiple weights which you can take or which are available. Now the question is, which one should you take? So remember two key points. First, you always take the target capital structure, not the current capital structure. So if current capital structure is, let's say, 30, 20, 50, but company tells you that the target is, or in future it will go to 40, 10 and 50, then you should take that as the weighted average cost of capital, because your cost of capital is always futuristic. You are calculating cost of capital for the capital which will be raised in future, not for the capital which has already been raised. So you always use target capital structure. Now the question is, how do you get target capital structure? Maybe management has given the target capital structure already, so you take it as it is. Maybe current structure is the target capital structure. Maybe there are no changes. Then you take current capital structure at the time. But whatever the case, remember you should be futuristic. If you know that something will change in future, then take that as target capital structure or use that. If you think nothing will change, then take the current capital structure as target capital structure. For weights, another key point to note about weights calculation is use market value of capital. So when you are calculating weight, how do you calculate weight? You find out how much is debt, how much is preferred share, how much is equity. There will be certain value of this debt, preferred share and equity on balance sheet, and there will be certain value in market. Generally, debt would have the same value on balance sheet as in market generally, because market value for debt and book value are very similar, not very different. But for equity, it can be very different. So you take market values of capital instead of book values. If market value is available, take market value. If market value is not available, then obviously you will go with book value. But if market value is available, go with market value. So remember these two key points with respect to weights. Target capital, you use target structure and you use market value instead of book values. Based on that, you can find out weights. Now next question is that you have found weights. Now you need to find out the cost of capital. That what is the actually cost of capital for these instruments. So now there can be multiple ways of calculating cost of capital, and each method can give you a different cost of capital. So it will depend on you which method do you find more appropriate to be used. So starting with debt, for calculating debt's cost of capital, what can be the different ways of doing that? So two different approaches. Two different approaches for cost of debt is, so we had three instruments: debt, preferred share and owner's equity, common stock. So let me write it as common stock, because preferred stock is also a part of equity. So this is, by equity I mean common stock. So starting with debt, how do you measure cost of debt? So there are two methods. There are many methods, two of those are discussed here, which is yield to maturity approach and debt rating approach. What is yield to maturity approach? In yield to maturity approach, what you do is you find out what is the yield on the bonds recently issued by the company, or the debt recently borrowed by the company, or the debt recently taken by the company. So you find out the yield on that, and based on that you decide that okay, this is the yield which is being paid on the similar bond, so this should be the cost of capital. So cost of debt will be the yield which is being paid on debt instruments, or the yield which is offered on the debt instrument. How do you calculate yield? You already know it. If you know the price, if you know future value, if you know coupon payment, if you know number of periods, you can calculate the yield. Yield is that rate at which price will equal the present value of all future cash flows, or it is a kind of IRR. So that is yield, and you can take that yield as the cost of debt. Another approach is debt rating approach. So let's say a company is borrowing debt, and for borrowing debt it is, let's say, issuing a 5-year bond, and let's say the company's rating is BBC, or let's say CCC, BB. So what you do is you go to market and find out what are the yields available on 5-year bond with BB rating, and you find out a similar bond which has 5-year maturity and BB rating, and you find out what is the yield on that bond. And when you find out the yield on that bond, you assume that when company issues a similar debt, it will also have the similar yield, because its risk profile is similar due to rating, its maturity is similar. So if maturity and risk profile are similar, then the yield offered should also be similar, and you take that as cost of capital. So that can be another approach. So these are two key approaches. Generally or practically what analysts do is, so these are two key approaches. Practically what an analyst would do is that he or she would find out what is the most recently borrowed loan and would find out the rate on that loan and would assume that that is the cost of capital. Taking the average cost of capital is not a good idea. Why? Because maybe company took that 5 years back, 6 years back, 10 years back, and maybe at that point of time interest rate were lower, maybe they have increased now, or maybe at that point of time they were higher, they have decreased now. So you should be futuristic, that if it raises capital today, what is the cost that it pays? That is that cost of capital. There are certain issues in finding out the rate on bonds or in finding out the cost of capital. What are those rates? Fixed versus floating. So sometimes bond or debt has a fixed rate, fixed interest rate, and sometimes it has a floating rate. Fixed rate is easy to find, so you can easily find out what is the rate on the bond, it will be quoted. But for floating rate, you cannot actually find out what will be the cost, because it will depend on future interest movement. If interest goes up, cost will go up. If interest goes down, cost will go down. So it is difficult to estimate a cost of capital on floating debt instruments. Also, some debt may not be very simple. So maybe there is a bond which is being issued to borrow loan and it has some option like features. For example, it is a callable bond, it is a puttable bond, it is a convertible bond. In that case, its yield will be different from normal bond, and so it will be difficult to adjust it to or to find out the yield for normal bond. Also, when you are using debt rating approach, what you do is you find out the bond with the similar rating. But let's say if the company is not rated, if company's credit rating is not available, or if a company does not have any bond which has a credit rating available, in that case you do not have a reference point, you do not have a benchmark, so you do not know what the rating will be. So non-rated debt is another problem. Or leases. So for example, maybe company has debt, but that debt is in the form of leases, and if it is in the form of leases, it wouldn't directly be shown or reflected as a debt, and its financing cost will not directly be shown in your books. So in that case, what you need to do is you need to find out what is the financing cost on that lease and then use that. So that is about that. Next is preferred stock. For preferred stock, simply the dividend which you are paying on preferred stock is the cost of capital for preferred stock. One key point to notice that if company issued let's say preferred stock 5 years back, and it will have some dividend on it, and let's say if it is issuing preferred stock today, it will have some dividend on it. So if you are calculating cost of capital, you will take the dividend for the recently issued or that preferred stock which will be issued in future. And then you have common stock or common equity. So again, there can be multiple ways of calculating return on common stock or the cost of capital on common stock, and three of the major methods which are discussed here are CAPM, dividend discount model, and bond yield plus risk premium approach. CAPM is simply risk-free rate plus beta into market risk premium, and market risk premium is return on market minus risk-free rate. This is CAPM. DDM is dividend discount model. In dividend discount model, you calculate the rate based on the dividends which are being paid by the company. And how do you do this? So if I am talking about a dividend discount model and if I am calculating the value as of today, then using Gordon growth model, value as of today is next year's dividend divided by R minus G. G is sustainable growth rate, R is your required rate of return on equity, and this V can be called price as of today. So this is the present value of all the future dividends which are being paid. And if I have to calculate required rate of return on equity, what I can do is I can rearrange this equation, and I can take required rate of return on equity on left hand side and bring all else on right hand side. So it will be required rate of return on equity equals D naught into 1 plus G divided by P naught plus G. This will be required rate of return on equity. Or I can also write it as D naught into 1 plus G is D1. This is required rate of return on equity as per DDM. So as per DDM, required rate of return on equity is D1 divided by P0 plus G. This is second approach. And the third approach is bond yield plus risk premium. So what you do is you take bond yield, yield on bond, and then you assume that as equity is more risky than bond or is riskier than bond, there should be certain premium added to it. So you add certain premium for equity, and based on that you estimate the required rate of return on equity, that it should be yield plus some premium. This is third approach. Most used approach is CAPM. CAPM is the most used approach amongst all these three. So once you have these methods or approaches will help you calculate the cost of capital. Weights, then you can calculate based on the discussion that we had at the start of the topic. Once you have cost of capital and you have weight, you can multiply those and take the weighted average of the cost of capital, and that is known as WACC. So WACC will be these cost of capitals multiplied by respective weights. So you know that equity is riskier than bond. So you take yield on bond and add a risk premium, and you say that this should be the equity. Yes. This is YTM, yield to maturity of the bond. Whenever we talk about cost of capital or interest rate on bond or anything, it is best to take the YTM, because YTM will change as the price changes. If you are taking coupon, coupon will be wouldn't be changing with changes in price. So this is about it. Another key point to remember is that when you take debt, you are paying interest. When you pay interest, interest goes into your P&L. As interest goes into your P&L, that inflate your expenses. That means your expenses goes up. When your expenses go up, your profit before tax decreases. When your profit before tax decreases, tax decreases. So that means borrowing debt allows with some tax savings. So when you are calculating that cost of debt, you take the after tax cost of debt. So for example, if cost of debt comes out to be 5%, you take it as 5 into 1 minus tax rate. So for that you always look at after tax cost of debt. So for example, if tax rate is 30%, it will be 5 into 0.7. So for that you always take after tax cost of debt. For preferred stock and common stock, you take before tax. Why? Because tax is not deductible on these expenses. They come in after P&L. So once you close your P&L, then you pay preferred share dividend or equity dividend, because dividends do not come in P&L, but interest comes in P&L. So interest provides you some tax savings. So that's why you take after tax cost of debt in calculation for WACC. So this is how you actually arrive at the WACC. Let's go back. This is done. So this is a simple example for WACC, like we already did. Assume that ABC Corporation has 30% debt, 10% preferred stock, 60% equity, and it wishes to maintain these proportion. If it wishes to maintain these proportion, that means in future also capital structure will be same. Its before tax cost of debt is 8%, preferred 10%, equity 15%, and marginal tax rate is 40%. So it has debt it has preferred stock, and it has equity. Costs are 30, weights are 30, 10 and 60. And costs are 8, 10 and 15. But this 8 should be taken on after tax basis. So this is, they have told you this is before tax cost of debt. So on after tax basis it will be 8 into 1 minus tax rate. Tax rate is 40%. So 8 into 0.6. When you multiply these and add them up, that will give you the WACC. So WACC will simply be the weighted average of all these costs. So 0.3 into 0.08 into 0.6, 0.1 into 0.1, 0.6 into 0.15. When you do this, you will get 11.44%, which is the WACC. This we have done that you take after tax cost of debt. For equity, whatever the cost is, it remains the same, no matter what the tax rate is, because tax is not deducted for equity purposes. So for equity, you take after tax and before tax will be same. For debt, after tax will be lower, before tax will be higher, and you take after tax.